400 years of Han Dynasty history, from birth to collapse. When the realm prospers, the people suffer. When the realm falls, the people suffer even more. Chinese history once witnessed a dynasty that lasted over 400 years, beginning with a man who once stood as a humble frontier guard and ending with a powerless emperor, as the nation descended into the flames of the Three Kingdoms era. This was the Han Dynasty, the dynasty that shaped the identity of an entire civilization. But what allowed the Han to rise from the ashes of chaos and build a 4-century-long legacy? How did an emperor like Han Wudi expand the borders to the far reaches of the western regions, only to leave behind an empire manipulated by eunuchs? And why, even after more than 800 years since its fall, do the Chinese still call themselves Han people? In this video, we will journey through the grand and tragic flow of Han history, from Liu Bang's uprising to the abdication of Emperor Xian of Han. Every step of power, every battle, every turning point is a mirror reflecting human nature and the destiny of a nation. If you're a history lover, fascinated by the ancient wisdom of the sages and curious why the past continues to echo through the present, then subscribe now. Because many more legendary tales, life philosophies, and ancient strategies await your discovery. Part 1. The birth of the Han Dynasty, 202 BCE. Liu Bang's rise to power. When we turn back the first page of Han history, we encounter a man of humble origin, neither noble-born nor royal-blooded, who nonetheless founded an empire that would last more than 4 centuries. Liu Bang. He was neither a refined scholar nor a valiant warrior. Liu Bang once held the lowly post of a village chief, a minor official in charge of guarding gates and checkpoints. But as the tides of history shifted, heroes emerged. When the Qin dynasty collapsed under the weight of its tyranny, Liu Bang, bold, shrewd, and a master of winning hearts, rose through the ranks. In 202 BCE, after defeating Shang Yu at the Battle of Gaixia, Liu Bang ascended the throne, establishing the Han Dynasty and taking the title Han Gozu. The name Han originated from the region of Hanzhong, a mountainous area he once governed, its geography symbolic of a destined beginning. And so began a glorious dynasty. But becoming emperor didn't mean peace. Even after his coronation, Liu Bang faced countless military campaigns to quell warlords and regional threats. Former allies who once supported him in the uprising now posed dangers, some seeking autonomy, others plotting rebellion. Gaozu couldn't afford complacency. Externally, he faced threats from the north. The Xiongnu, nomadic warrior tribes, frequently raided the borders. They weren't just a military concern, but a direct challenge to the authority of the fledgling dynasty. Knowing he lacked the power for open confrontation, Liu Bang chose a softer approach. Peace through marriage alliances, tributes of food and silk, and even marrying off Han princesses to Xiongnu chieftains. To him, stability within was worth more than national pride. While placating enemies abroad, Liu Bang strengthened the state within. He established the capital at Chang'an, strategically located in the Wei River Valley. In no time, it became the political, economic, and cultural heart of Asia. Alongside city building, he restructured the administrative system, granted titles to loyal allies, and retained capable officials from the former Qin regime. Importantly, Liu Bang understood the central role of farmers, the backbone of society. He reduced taxes, abolished many of Qin's harsh laws, and encouraged post-war agricultural recovery. His pragmatic and compassionate governance laid a solid foundation for the Han. In 195 BCE, Liu Bang died, leaving his legacy behind. After his death, power fell to his wife, Empress Liu. Known for her cruelty, Empress Liu executed many of Liu's relatives, replacing them with members of her own Liu clan. But power that defies public sentiment cannot last. After her death, Liu family loyalists purged the Liu clan and placed Liu Heng, Liu Bang's son, on the throne, known as Emperor Wen of Han. Under Emperor Wen, the Han entered a golden era known as the rule of Wen and Jing, a model of good governance. Wen was a benevolent ruler who respected talent, valued thrift, and loved his people. He abolished brutal punishments, reduced forced labor, and freed thousands of slaves. During natural disasters, he organized relief efforts. These deeds won the people's hearts, brought peace, and spurred rapid population growth. Remarkably, Emperor Wen was not just kind but also financially astute. He cut palace expenditures, boosted production, allowed private mining, and reformed taxes. With internal peace and no major wars, this period stands as one of the most tranquil in Chinese history. His son, Emperor Jing, continued in that spirit. However, his reign faced a challenge from the semi-autonomous vassal kingdoms, granted to Liu's descendants during Gaozu's time. These kingdoms grew increasingly powerful and defiant. Determined to rein them in, Jing launched the Rebellion of the Seven States. The central government emerged victorious, curbing the vassals' autonomy. That decisive moment paved the way for the Han's Golden Age under Emperor Wu. In 141 BCE, Emperor Wu ascended the throne. At just 16, he already displayed extraordinary ambition and intellect. A lover of learning with a grand vision, he aimed to expand the empire and elevate Han to unmatched supremacy. Emperor Wu was a visionary. From the outset, he established Confucianism as the state ideology, expanded civil service examinations, and launched key reforms. He strengthened central authority by ending hereditary aristocracy and breaking up large land inheritances. Against the Xiongnu, he chose confrontation over appeasement. He launched massive military campaigns to drive them out, allowing settlers to reclaim frontier lands. Moreover, he dispatched Zhang Qian across perilous terrains to the western regions, forging diplomatic ties and laying the groundwork for the legendary Silk Road. During his reign, the Han also conquered Nanyue in Korea, incorporating present-day northern Vietnam and Nam into the empire. Territorial expansion asserted Han's might and facilitated robust trade and cultural exchange. Yet glory came at a cost. Emperor Wu's campaigns drained manpower and treasury. Taxes soared, labor demands grew, and the people began to suffer. Near the end of his life, he issued an edict of remorse, acknowledging his excesses, an act later known as the Beilu Edict. Still, history remembers Emperor Wu as the one who brought Han to its zenith. From a fledgling dynasty amid Qin's ruins, Han had become a formidable Asian empire, stable within, mighty without. Its prosperity was the product of wise political choices, adaptability to change, and relentless reforms. Part 2, From Zenith to Abyss, the Fall of a Dynasty. When things reach their peak, they begin to reverse. When the moon is full, it starts to wane. A nation's destiny is like water, sometimes rising, sometimes falling. No one holds heaven's mandate forever. History teaches us this. When an empire reaches its peak, that is often when the seeds of its downfall quietly begin to sprout. After the reign of Emperor Wu of Han, the dynasty was like a dragon that had soared into the vast sea, but its wings, if not nourished by the will of the people and the principles of governance, would gradually tire and falter into chaos. Following Emperor Wu was a line of emperors who maintained temporary prosperity, but beneath the surface, cracks began to form. Power-hungry ministers rose, eunuchs gained influence, and women in the imperial harem reached for ambitions far beyond their station. The court lost its integrity, and discipline eroded under the weight of talentless men who stood too close to the throne. The breaking point came with Wang Mang, a Confucian scholar revered for his virtue and admired by intellectuals, who gradually ascended to power. At first, he was seen as the ideal righteous regent who would reform the court and restore Han to its righteous path. But like many dreams born from popular hope, once power was in hand, human nature was put to the test. In 9 CE, Wang Mang deposed the Han emperor and established the short-lived Qin dynasty. He launched a flurry of retro-reform policies, nationalizing land, fixing commodity prices, changing currency, and issuing decrees based on ancient Zhou rituals. But life is not a book. Classics cannot govern people's hearts without the flexibility of wisdom and empathy for reality. The policies failed, the people fell into disorder. Heaven itself seemed displeased. Floods surged, the Yellow River breached its banks, famine spread, people resorted to cannibalism, and cries of suffering filled the land. Rebellions broke out everywhere. One group, known as the Red Eyebrows, evolved from bandits into a structured military force. Amid the chaos, a name emerged, Liu Shu, a descendant of Liu Bang, who rose to restore the Han. Liu Shu was not a natural-born general, but he possessed a vital trait. He listened to the people's will. His army did not loot. Wherever they went, they quelled disorder, opened granaries to feed the people, and enforced strict discipline. Because of this, the people trusted him, generals followed him, and scholars supported him. In 25 CE, he ascended the throne, restoring the Han Dynasty. History calls him Emperor Guangwu of Han, marking the start of the Eastern Han period. Eastern Han was not just a continuation, it was a meaningful rebirth. Liu Bang understood that the previous court had collapsed due to the dominance of eunuchs and palace relatives. He reinstated discipline governed through scholarship, elevated Confucian scholars, promoted education, cut court expenses, and revived the economy. Militarily, he strictly enforced law, quelled warlords, expanded the borders westward and northward, reaffirming the power of the Han. Yet the ancients were right. Fortune never strikes twice, but misfortune rarely comes alone. The Eastern Han flourished for a few generations, but old wounds reopened. After Guangwu's death, most of his successors were weak, ascending the throne as children, relying on regent empresses and eunuchs. Eunuchs became like termites gnawing at the foundation. Under Emperors Huan and Ling, they not only manipulated the court, but openly sold government positions, turning governance into a marketplace of bribes. Loyal Confucian officials were sidelined while flatterers prospered. The decay within sowed the seeds of a great upheaval. In 184 CE, Zhang Zhao, a Taoist priest, launched an uprising under the banner of Heaven's Way, rallying hundreds of thousands of impoverished farmers in the Yellow Turban Rebellion. The slogan, "The empire is in chaos, Han has lost heaven's mandate," spread rapidly. In no time, from north to south, the central plains to the riversides, the land drowned in smoke and blood. The court panicked, hastily deploying troops, but its weakness only fed the flames of rebellion. History reached an irreversible turning point. Warlords rose. To suppress the rebellion, the court handed military power to regional generals. Among them was Cao Cao, who would become the dominant force in the north. Although the rebellion was crushed, order was not restored. The people's faith was broken, central control collapsed, and local powers sprouted like mushrooms after rain. Within the court itself, General He Jin plotted to eliminate the eunuchs and summon the brutal warlord Dong Zhuo to the capital. But power in the wrong hands leads to disaster. Dong Zhuo seized control, deposed the emperor, burned Luoyang, and earned the wrath of the people. His own general, Liu Bang, betrayed and murdered him in court. From there, the realm split into three: the north under Cao Cao, the east under Sun Quan, and the southwest under Liu Bei, a Han descendant with virtue and grand ambition. The three kingdoms fought for supremacy, but the Han emperor became nothing more than a puppet. Emperor Xian was merely a shadow held by feuding warlords. Finally, in 220 CE, Cao Pi, son of Cao Cao, forced Emperor Xian to abdicate and declared the Wei Dynasty. A dynasty once believed to hold heaven's mandate ended in sorrow, leaving behind bitter lessons about power, virtue, and governance. The empire belongs to no one. He who wins the people rules. But he who forgets the people, no matter the throne, will not last. The 400-year journey of the Han, from a peasant uprising to an empire bathed in blood and ambition, was like a moon that waxed full, then waned. There were the luminous reigns of wise rulers like Liu Bang, Emperor Wen, Emperor Wu, and Emperor Guangwu. But there were also the dark chapters of Wang Mang, corrupt eunuchs, and power-hungry opportunists cloaked in virtue. In the end, it was not war that brought down the Han, but complacency at the height of power. Not foreign enemies, but rot from within. It is a lesson not only for emperors of the past, but for all of us today. No power is too great to escape the need for wisdom and ethics. A nation cannot endure if it forgets that the people are its roots. Part 3. Lessons from a Glorious and Tragic Empire. The people's will can defy heaven's mandate. Moral governance triumphs over law by force. A dynasty endures not by swords, but by the people's trust and justice. The 400-year history of the Han is an epic of heroism, but also a sorrowful chronicle of an empire's survival. Beneath the radiant glow of wise emperors and legendary battles lie the questions that cut to the core of human destiny. How should a nation be ruled? Why do empires that shine so brightly eventually collapse? And ultimately, what is the true foundation for maintaining a realm? Looking back through each era of the Han Dynasty, we see more than the shifts of history. We witness a recurring cycle: birth, rise, decline, and fall. At its center was not fate, but human choice. It was the decisions, wise or misguided, of each generation of rulers that shaped the dynasty's fate. And behind those choices lay a quiet struggle between two forces, power and morality. Liu Bang built his empire not with literature or scholarship, but with pragmatism and sharp insight. He knew that to rule the land, military might was not enough. He needed the hearts of the people. He reduced taxes, protected farmers, spared defeated enemies, trading leniency for loyalty. He was no sage king, but he knew how to use talent, when to be firm, and when to bend. That was wisdom in governance. Emperor Wen and Emperor Jing inherited that spirit of moral rule. Their era, known as the rule of Wen and Jing, is hailed by historians as a golden model: little war, economic growth, social stability, and elevated ethics. These rulers understood, a strong state does not depend on strict laws, but on the people's faith. When the people trust the ruler, peace naturally follows. And that trust is built on three pillars: righteous heart, self-discipline, and harmony at home. In contrast, Wang Mang serves as a painful example of enforcing morality without recognizing reality. He acted in the name of Confucian ideals, applying rigid reforms rooted in antiquity. But without flexibility and understanding, moral doctrine becomes oppression. His failure was not due to bad intentions, but due to his lack of listening and adaptability. Then came Emperor Wu, the one who brought Han to its zenith, an icon of rule through force, expansion, and unwavering command. To future generations, he was a great emperor, but also one who drained the people's spirit with endless wars and heavy labor. The price of power was moral erosion, and in the end, even he confessed his mistakes in an edict of remorse. In the Eastern Han, Liu Shu again proved that ruling a nation demands humanity. Amid chaos, he ran a disciplined army, forbade looting, and shielded civilians from exploitation. With few battles, he still won the realm, clear evidence that a ruler who clings to virtue can win hearts without violence. Tragically, his successors could not preserve that foundation. When eunuchs gained power, when child emperors ascended and regents ruled from the harem, when scholars were cast aside and fools became prime ministers, the dynasty stood on sand. In a society where talent is buried and villains are exalted, collapse is only a matter of time. The Yellow Turban Rebellion didn't erupt solely from poverty, but from lost faith in the throne. When the people no longer saw the emperor as a righteous leader, but as a puppet of corrupt courtiers, no army could preserve order. The eternal lesson: the people are the root of the nation. Lose them, and all is lost. Then came Cao Cao, a different kind of ruler. Unlike Liu Bei's compassion or Guan Yu's chivalry, Cao Cao led with talent, discipline, and a vision for political order. He didn't feign virtue, but proved his worth through results. Though blood-stained, he revived the North, restored production, and stabilized the people. He too was a kind of wise ruler, albeit one who broke the mold of Confucian ideals. The Three Kingdoms era was inevitable. Central authority weakened, regional powers rose, and each claimed a right to rule. But the real question is not who won or lost, but what caused the Han, with over 400 years of legacy, to lose its throne. The answer lies in an ancient truth. When the emperor loses virtue, the world divides itself. The Han didn't fall from lack of generals, territory, or wealth, but from the loss of righteousness. When uneducated men teach the nation, when scoundrels anchor the state, when citizens are treated like dirt, heaven's favor vanishes. Today, as we reflect, we can't help but feel a twinge of sorrow. The achievements of Liu Bang, Emperor Wen, Emperor Wu, Emperor Guanggu all vanished like smoke, undone by a generation that lived in excess and forgot its roots. Let that be etched in our hearts. Prosperity cannot rest on resources, but must be rooted in the people's hearts. A nation cannot flourish if its leaders forget their duty to the people and to heaven. Governing a country is like cooking a small fish. Too harsh and it burns. Holding on to virtue is like catching wind in your hands. It requires delicacy and persistence. We read history not just to admire the past, but to reflect on the present. Every upheaval in Han history reminds us of the cost of arrogance, blind ambition, and poor decisions. A person who disrespects their parents cannot be noble. An official who forgets the people is no better than a thief. A nation that lets scoundrels lead will collapse in a heartbeat, no matter how ancient its foundation. Though the Han Dynasty fell, its legacy endures, the spirit of reform, the lesson that virtue must temper power, and a mirror held up to every force atop the pyramid of power. A reminder that nothing lasts if morality is forgotten. Part 4, the fall of the Han Dynasty, the death of a dynasty, the eternal voice of a nation. The body may die, but the name remains. The kingdom may fall, but its spirit lingers in eternal memory. Over 2 millennia of Chinese history saw many dynasties rise and fall, yet few left as profound a mark as the Han. Not just for its 400-year reign, but for how it defined Chinese identity itself. After the Han, the people of China called themselves the Han people. Their script became Han characters, and their customs were known as Han culture. The Han was more than a dynasty, it became the soul of a civilization, etched into the flesh and blood of the East. And yet, the most tragic truth of history is this: what is most glorious is often most fragile. After its golden age, the Han entered a period of decline like a ship laden with gold but rotting at the hull. After Emperor Ling's death, the court descended into power struggles. Ministers, eunuchs, consort clans, and warlords all vied for dominance in a vicious spiral. Those with power sought to usurp it. Those without were crushed. In this twilight of empire, a boy emperor named Liu Xie, later Emperor Xian, ascended the throne at the age of 9. A puppet ruler, he was passed from one despot to another. First Dong Zhuo, who murdered the Empress Dowager, burned Luoyang, and ruled with terror. Then came Li Jue, Guo Si, Zhang Ji, Han Sui, Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, Ma Teng, Liu Biao, Cao Cao, names streamed by like blood from an unhealed wound. At this point, the emperor no longer held the mandate of heaven. Instead, it fractured into 3 visions of power and legitimacy. Cao Cao, representing pragmatism, strategy, and realpolitik. He kept Emperor Xian by his side, ruling in the name of the Han while consolidating power. Though controversial, he restored order to the north, reformed governance, and quelled chaos. Liu Bei, a descendant of Liu Bang, symbolizing benevolence and rightful succession. Despite his weak position, Liu Bei upheld virtue, won the hearts of the people, and with Zhuge Liang, an enduring symbol of wisdom, by his side, he stood for moral legitimacy. Sun Quan, representing regional power and independence. With shrewd diplomacy, he balanced between Wei and Shu, defended the southeast, and helped shape the 3 kingdoms era that would last for over half a century. This tripartite division was not just political, but philosophical. Governance split into 3 ideals: strategy, virtue, and strength. Each had its strengths and weaknesses. But this split was also the death knell of the Han. When the throne became symbolic, the dynasty was nothing but an echo of the past. In 220 CE, Cao Pi, son of Cao Cao, forced Emperor Xian to abdicate, founding the Wei dynasty. The Han officially ended, closing 4 centuries of imperial rule. There was no national mourning, no weeping masses, no solemn rituals for the soul of the empire. The Han faded into silence, like a flame flickering out amid storms of ambition. A dynasty dies not when its emperor falls, but when the people stop believing. This end serves as a stark warning to all dynasties to follow. Power without righteousness is but a sword in the hands of bandits. A royal family, without the people's support, will eventually be replaced by one stronger, faster, more practical. And yet, while the dynasty perished, Han culture did not. Like glowing embers, it reignited among the people. Confucianism, science, medicine, literature, bureaucracy, law, what the Han built continued to flourish. The people still called themselves descendants of Han. Neighboring countries like Korea, Vietnam, and Japan absorbed and reflected Han culture. So the Han died yet never truly vanished. Its body may decay, but its soul is eternal. What it left behind was not just palaces or monuments, but hard-earned lessons about ruling, serving, and living with integrity. Lesson 1. Governance requires benevolence. No policy, however brilliant, can succeed without compassion. Liu Bang triumphed not because he fought better than Xiang Yu, but because he understood the people's pain. Lu Shu restored the Han not by sheer force, but because wherever he went, the people followed. Lesson 2. Morality must be paired with law. Emperor Wen was kind yet kept order. Emperor Wu ruled with strength but knew when to admit fault. Later emperors, by neglecting the law and empowering eunuchs, lost the state entirely. Lesson 3. Education is the foundation of prosperity. The Han invested in Confucianism, education, and talent. Even amid chaos, scholars like Zhuge Liang, Guozhi, and Liu Kan shone like guiding stars. A nation that ignores learning is like a rudderless ship at sea. Final lesson. To rule the world, one must know when to let go. Cao Cao knew when to step back. Emperor Wu admitted mistakes. Dong Zhuo, He Jin, and Yuan Shu died clinging to power they couldn't control. Modern leaders must also know this. No one has to be all-powerful, but they must know how to guide, reflect, and retreat when needed. A boss is not a tyrant. A parent is not a dictator. Leadership without ethics is nothing. Moral rule is the root, legal order is the fence. With firm roots and sturdy fences, a nation stands. This remains true today. Righteousness without structure fails. Every group, from nations to families, needs transparency, accountability, and ethical systems. 10,000 miles of mountains, a realm through the ages. Who will hold on to virtue through the storms of life? Though the Han fell millennia ago, its shadow still stretches across every land, page of history and Eastern philosophy. From emperors to peasants, from politics to calligraphy, the Han left an indelible mark. The Han sowed a seed, a civilization rooted in people's hearts, guided by virtue, fueled by wisdom, and lit by compassion. That seed may have been trampled by chaos or buried in ambition, but it never died. It carried on, generation after generation. And today, amid a modern world of disruption, that seed still waits within us. If you've read this far, perhaps you too now realize history isn't dead. It lives in every decision we make, today and tomorrow. Are we living like those at the end of Han, forgetting virtue, glorifying convenience, breaking trust, loosening order? Or will we learn from the past and rebuild a lasting world by mind, by heart, by integrity? Keeping the world in balance is not hard if each of us can keep ourselves in check. What do you think about the end of the Han? Can a dynasty truly endure if it holds on to virtue? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe as we continue to uncover the ancient stories that still echo in today's world.